Good morning, today's vlog is something a little bit different. I'm going to self-critique a few of my images from my time up in Wales with the hope that you guys can learn something from my mistakes. So, as I said in that little intro, this video is a little bit different. As you can see, I'm in my rather cramped small studio today, and the purpose of that is to jump into Lightroom, show you guys some of the images that I took that were featured in the last vlog that I did up in North Wales, and also some of the images that I didn't actually show in the video. The reason I didn't show them, well, because I wasn't happy with them. They didn't work like I wanted, and I don't generally like showing images that I'm not entirely happy with or comfortable with for some reason. However, I was aware when I was editing the video it looks a little bit strange talking about the experimentation that I did and some of the shots that I was looking to take without showing the images. So I thought I'd come back, do a quick critique and show you guys what I did, what I tried to do, what I did wrong, and why ultimately I didn't think they were good enough to feature in the final film. So let's crack into Lightroom. So I will start with a couple of the images that I did feature, the ones that I felt were good enough to feature in the film. So this is the first one. This is my shot from Capel Curig, and the aim of this image was to try and photograph Snowdon. When I took this image I was actually a bit disappointed because I'd had this vision in my head around having Snowdon as the main focal point at the head of the valley. Obviously that didn't materialise, so I was a little bit down. But when I got it back on the computer and I could see the contrast in the light, I was much happier with it. So what do I like about this image? Well, you can see it's this great clash between two different kind of weathers. You've got the incoming brooding clouds coming across that's masking the mountain range in the distance, and then this gorgeous, gorgeous warm light. This light was very, very fleeting. It lasted literally a few seconds, maybe a minute at the very most. So I was quite fortunate to even capture that much light. Anyway, I did, and ultimately I'm quite pleased with the results. Certainly I'll go back up to this location and try and get the shot I initially envisaged, but certainly this has an atmosphere to it that I'm quite comfortable with. So on to the next one. The next image that I took was this one of the tree. So this, on the face of it, looks like a very simple image, and actually I think you could argue breaks a few of the landscape photography rules. For example, it has a series of lines going across the image which is often thought of as a barrier to kind of the viewer's eye leading through the image, but I quite liked that, and I quite liked accentuating the different layers of the image. The fact you've got the kind of stream, the wall, the traditional slate fence, and then obviously the tree, and then this line of the ridge behind. What was critical to this image was the light, as ever. Obviously it doesn't feature sky, and that was a very deliberate intent of both to add scale, but also the sky, was not of interest on this occasion. However, as you'll have seen from the vlog, and you'll see from the time-lapse, again I'll show now, the light was very, very changeable, and it was a question of making sure that the shadows from the clouds hit the right place. I wanted this mountain to be really dark and add some separation, and all of any sunlight that we did have, any light to fall here. The other point that I'd like to make is that people often say you can't do landscape photography in the day, it has to be in gorgeous golden hours at the beginning or end of the day. This was taken at about 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon, right when the sun was at its highest. I don't think it would have worked at any other time. The shadow here cast directly down from the tree. Had the sun been lower in the sky, that would have caused a distracting shadow right across one way or the other that I don't think would have worked nearly as well. Finally, something I didn't mention in the video, I used a circular polarizer to darken the water down here, take off the glare of the water, so you kind of had a symmetry between the dark water down here and the darkness of the mountain behind the ridge that kind of creates a frame for the rest of the image. The other point, I took this at ISO 400, which is unusual for me, and I did this so I could bring my shutter speed up a bit. So you can see it's at 1/100th of a second. Again, that is quite high, but in this case I wanted to freeze that water. I didn't want it to be milky. I wanted to freeze that because I wanted to keep that texture essentially. I think it works better in the context of this image. So again, I was quite pleased with the execution of this shot. It may not have the wow factor of the kind of ultra colourful images, but I think there's something quintessentially Welsh and quintessential to kind of that area and that path that the image invokes. So that was 2 good images. On to the 2 bad. So this was the image that I took from kind of the ruins further down the stream. And from the video, you'll recall I saw this lovely little kind of tree with the intricate leaves, and I wanted to accentuate that. The light kind of hit it. I wanted to make a feature of it. However, it was a really challenging location. I was right on the edge of the stream. There was quite a drop below it. So it's quite difficult to get the composition I wanted. Some things did work. I used an f2.8 aperture to kind of throw the background into more of a blur. You can see that works on the kind of rock face over here. To a point, and it helps with the tree being sharp to stand out against that background and create that separation. Separation is key. You need separation around your subject, and I don't think I achieved it in this case. The stream cutting through the middle just doesn't work for me at all. The light did illuminate the tree, as you can see, so that kind of worked. And over here, where this is knocked much more into shadow around the left hand side of the tree, that is kind of nearer to where I was going with it, but ultimately, you know, it's not great. I could probably do a bit more work on this in post-production if I really wanted to. This is essentially just a raw file with some very minor tweaks, but to be honest, I don't think the composition is worth spending the time on. The second one is this one, again even further down the stream on that day. I was walking down the path you can see here on the right, and a beam of sunlight just hit the tree and accentuated the shape of that image. I saw it and it looked stunning, so I just had to set my camera up and give it a go. I was under a bit of time pressure. I had to get back to the car because my parking was going to run out. There's a tip: make sure you pay for enough parking. You know, it wasn't. I didn't have the time to really consider this. Now, while the shape of the tree is beautiful, and I quite like this pool underneath it, and certainly the waterfall doesn't clash with it, and it does have something. I even like this one-to-one square crop. I went for this. I think that works well. There are 2 things I don't like about this image. Firstly, this mountain. It clashes with a mountain. There's absolutely no separation here, so it gets a bit messy. You don't get the clean lines of the tree, which was my original intention. I don't know if the sunlight had been brighter, if I had more shadow like in the other tree image. If that could have happened here, that would have helped, but you know, they're much closer together, so I think that would be very unlikely to happen for the shadows to fall in that respect. So certainly this doesn't give that kind of pop. Secondly, the sky. It's hardly a dramatic sky. Certainly I wouldn't want something too dramatic, but this is very bland, very grey. I'm not sure that kind of works. It's a lovely little tree, lovely scene, and certainly it's a case of one of those views where, one of those things that when you see it with the eye, it looks really beautiful, really pretty, but when you take it with a camera, maybe it doesn't quite work. So those are the 4 images I took. I guess the message of this video is you go out to do landscape photography, but you don't always get the images that you want. However, I had a fantastic day at this location. The light wasn't great the whole time. Big parts of the afternoon it was very flat and overcast. However, that gave me the opportunity to experiment, try different things, try new aperture, shooting at different apertures, at different more intimate landscapes than maybe I'd normally shoot, and see how they worked. And ultimately I'll learn from that in 2 ways, whether that's compositionally in future images that I take, or from the fact I have a much better idea of what this location has to offer for the next time I go there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a bit different. Please do comment on it. I probably won't do too many of these styles of video because I prefer to be out on location when I talk about my photography. I thought it warranted it in this case. In the comments, please do talk about your successes and failures, and maybe times when you've gone to a lot of effort with your landscape photography and it's not paid off. Give me your comments and your thoughts on what I've just said as well. If you like this video, please do subscribe. And if you want to see more of my work, obviously visit my website at www.michaelsalvyphotography.com. See you next time.